Well, Michelle, should we put our slides up? All right, so welcome everyone once again. Thank you so much for joining us today and having a chance to chat with us about one of our favorite topics, which is design thinking, career exploration, and in particular, representative career exploration. So what this is if you've been to our previous sessions when we were in the building phase, this is kind of the final share out of where we are at now that our product, well, it's not a product, I should say, it's a platform really, now that our platform has finally launched. And it's a collaboration between Foothill College and Gladio. So I'm representing Foothill College. I'm a faculty in the Workforce and Global Studies departments. And Michelle is here with us representing Gladio. She's the amazing co-founder and CEO of Gladio. Do you want to say hi before we move forward, Michelle?
Hi, everybody. Great to virtually meet everybody. Thanks for attending.
Super. So I think we can move to the next slide. So the way this all started was our community college, maybe like many of yours, had a lot of needs in terms of getting our students workforce ready and making sure that all of our students were able to see themselves in careers, whether they were going to be majoring in that major or it was something that we didn't offer but knew that our students wanted to be a part of that industry. And when we were looking at other platforms, we noticed that many of our community college students were not represented in the career exploration tools that existed previously. And we specifically were looking for the needs that you see up on our slide, like representative, relatable role models, really key for all of our community college populations where we have students with so many different identities that aren't captured elsewhere, whether it's a different identity ethnically, or whether you're a returning student, or whether you're a veteran. We just have so many different populations. And I think that's something that is pretty amazing, but unfortunately isn't always relatable in other career platforms. And we also needed something that would be able to service all of our students, because while we do have a campus environment and a lot of students are on campus, we also have a very large online presence. And so we needed to find some sort of a tool that would be useful for everyone everywhere. And then the other thing that we noticed was that a lot of our students were having a really hard time, no matter how talented they were, getting their first internship or work experience. And that's the hardest thing, right? Because everyone wants you to have some sort of work experience before they are willing to hire you. So we were trying to find ways to hit that pain point of how do we ensure that our students are going to have their first work experience whilst they're with us, so that when they go out into the world, it will be easier for them to then get the next interview. So we were super lucky to come across this Forbes article, and some of you might have seen it as well, where we found Gladio, and our dean, Teresa Ong, reached out with this information and asked if I would follow up. And literally it was a cold email. We just like emailed their contact email, their generic contact email, and we told them about our idea to make some sort of a space for community colleges to have their students able to explore careers, not just in the way that four-year schools do, but in a way that was more directly tied to our student population and the careers that each of us are trying to prepare our students for. And so this is how we stumbled upon Gladio, and it's this amazing platform where everyone is working off of the same kind of vision that we had. And it's all about being relatable, and we're having representative storytelling and not just telling people what they should do, but actually showing them the whole path.
So before we talk about our collaboration, this is a video that kind of gives you a brief overview of Gladio. And before we met, had the pleasure of meeting Maloney and Teresa, we had already had a platform, but what we're going to be showing you is how we collaborated to create a platform specifically for each community college. So before we do that, you can get a slight overview. It's a testimonial video. Second.
The Gladio platform uses videos, storytelling, an extensive digital library of informational interviews, and resource recommendations that are personal. One of the things that many students of minority populations.
Was it muted?
All right, the sound is just coming a little bit wonky. Do you maybe want to start it again and just make sure that the buttons at the bottom are hit to optimize for sharing sound and video when you do the share screen? You might have to stop your share and then reshare it to see those buttons.
Oh. Stop share?
Yeah, go ahead and stop it and then reshare it, and you'll see the two buttons that say optimize to show the video and sound. And that'll be a lot better for us.
Great.
The Gladio platform uses videos, storytelling, an extensive digital library of informational interviews, and resource recommendations that are personalized to each user. It is a culturally relevant approach. And that storytelling piece is so important because one of the things that many students of minority populations or many underserved students who are marginalized from relatable role models is that they know that they want a career, but they don't know anyone in that career. They just saw something on TV.
Always want to get more underrepresented groups to focus on STEM careers, whether it's underrepresented by gender or race or SES. Most of the other career platforms out there have unfortunately still been telling the mainstream narrative, and what Gladio is doing is really disrupting that.
And so this whole world opens up of who they can be. And then with the click of a button, they can tap into somebody who looks and sounds just like them, who came from where they came from, and who's telling their story. And then they are well on their way to becoming that story. And so Gladio fills the inspiration gap, fills the information gap, it fills the access gap, the role model gap, all in one single platform. And it's a very humble approach to this very important work that all educators have to do, is to architect the human potential of our students. That's what this education work is all about. And that's what Gladio is about.
If we can help them believe that they can actually have a career, not just a job, and then we give them all of the planning, resources, and events and opportunities to be able to do that, that's why we started Gladio.
A lot of different career sites put out great information, but it's not relatable. But through Gladio, we like to say we're giving our students permission to dream. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little deeper dive into seeing what Gladio really is all about. And if you were curious about the theory of motivational role modeling, you can take a look at some of the information that we have here for you on the slide. And I'm not going to read it all, but you can definitely look it up. It is really interesting to see how important it is to have someone achieve the goals that you have, especially if no one in your community has done that before. It can be super isolating to try to be the first person to forge a path. And so this is a cornerstone of Gladio and Foothill in how we hope to inspire our students to move forward through their career pathways. Michelle, should we move forward?
Oh, I moved forward, but I guess it doesn't.
Oh, I guess,
you don't.
sorry, my bandwidth, everyone, is not very good right now. So if I skipped aside, Michelle, feel free to jump in and go back.
Do people see the process slide?
Yes, I see process slide now.
Yeah.
Okay, super. So now we're going to get into the part about the design thinking, the careers, and how we went about our process in hopes that it might be inspiring to others to kind of reinvent how you think about careers from the typical models that we have of like, oh, you need to have a career center that is brick and mortar, or you need to have X, Y, and Z. We can really do so many things now, especially during this past year and a half. We've learned how much impact we can have even virtually or remote. It just allows so many different types of students to access resources that they used to have to come in to be able to have. So we started with having conversations, design thinking conversations, if you will. Michelle is really good at kind of teasing all of that out. And so she was leading that part of, making sure we get to our ultimate goal and then thinking about how that should be represented in a prototype. We then had a lot of feedback, another prototype, and the constant reiteration is something that we've been super grateful for, because Gladio is really open to hearing the feedback, not just from us as administrators, but the key part here is that our design thinking process also included a lot of student feedback. And with every round of that, we just get better and better, and we are able to have these changes executed in a really timely manner, such that we were able to launch. So our final product platform is called foothill.gladio.org, and we're proud to be the first community college collaborator with Gladio, and we're super excited about where this is going. Back to you, Michelle.
So I can tell you about some of the features that we added that we didn't have on our platform. And I really thanked Teresa and all the students that they interviewed for their feedback, because I learned so much about the community college system and the needs, and how you guys are working with so many people, so many diverse people. And so one of the things that we implemented was we wanted to connect your programs and your coursework to the careers, a lot of CTE careers. And so what we did was create a separate domain for Foothill, and then we connected, like, let's say dental hygienist with the coursework at Foothill College. I do want to say on the Gladio site, originally, there was already career profiles, a career quiz, career videos. I mean, we're constantly adding more, but that was already there, but we wanted to customize it per community college. And so the first thing was matching that career pathway, the college program, to the career pathway. Then per the guided pathways, the pathways mapper, and this is something Maloney and Teresa were talking to me about. So we took the different pathways mappers, and then we visually represented it, and we connected it to the career. And then they also wanted alumni videos, because I think the best evidence besides relatable role models is relatable role models that go to Foothill College or go to that college. It's the best evidence to show that Foothill College, and share the story of, let's say, Eileen or Steve, and they talk about their background. They talk about how they came from immigrants. Eileen's parents came here on a boat as refugees from Vietnam, and how their parents couldn't help. And we tell the whole story, also talk about how awesome the college program was and how it actually contributed to their skill building and the community that they found at Foothill. And then we talked about what a vet tech was, Eileen's career. And Foothill loved the alumni videos. And we did this during quarantine. And so they've wanted more and more alumni videos. So now we're doing, I think Maloney brought in their STEM, I think it's like Science Learning Institute, and also the African-American community. So we'll do some videos of African-American alumni. And so this has been a really great process, because every single alumni has such a unique story. And it's been very fun for me to hear their story and just to be inspired by their stories. Another thing, like Maloney said, virtual work experiences. So each career profile also has, do you see my little pointer? Yep. I'm on the right side. Yeah. So, Maloney says, like, we want our students to get real life experience and also exposure and be in the pipeline for a lot of the tech companies in Bay Area, because Foothill was in the Bay Area. So, there's certain things that I can do, but if there's somebody else who does it really well, we just contact them, create a partnership, and put them on the platform. Because another thing Maloney says is there's so many platforms out there. And when there's so many, students get lost, right? And so we wanted to consolidate as much as possible on one platform. So I went out and I talked to a company called Triple Byte, and I love their company. Basically, it's completely merit-based. They take a quiz, and this Triple Byte specifically just does computer engineering, data scientist, AI, stuff like that. And they take a quiz. They don't look at your school. They don't look at your gender. They don't look at your race. And the quiz gives you a score. And if you get above a certain score, I think it's like 1 or 2 out of 5, then you get into a pipeline of a recruiting pool. And they help recruit for Facebook, Google, I mean, all of the tech companies, not just in the Bay Area, but all over the country. Another company that we partnered with was Forage. This was actually a company that Maloney introduced us to. And she's like, it's great. They basically do virtual work experiences hosted by large companies like General Electric, Boston Consulting Group, Quantum. And Maloney was like, we don't need another, for her to market another platform. So I was just like, so she introduced me to the founder. We talked and we figured out a way to partner and to consolidate it. And so now more students have access to these virtual work experiences. And they're kind of like micro work experiences. And they also get into the recruiting pool of these amazing companies. Another thing that Maloney said was, okay, there's a lot of things that we have to do, but people get lost. There's so many steps to career development. So this is another thing that we built. And it's a step-by-step career planning checklist, and it guides each phase 1, phase 2, self-awareness, world awareness. And then, it doesn't show on the screen, but also we have something, career readiness. Have you put together your LinkedIn profile? Have you put together your resume and things like that? One thing that I did get feedback from, because we actually did present with another company at the CCC AOE in the Palm Desert a couple of weeks ago, is can we customize this checklist? Because I think all of you career counselors have your specific program, right? So maybe you want to schedule an appointment with a career counselor or whatnot. And so that's something we definitely are going to implement so that this checklist can actually be customized per your preference. Because you guys, I know, all have your separate methodologies and things like that. So that's something we're definitely going to implement in the next few months. And then just to give you a brief, I won't go through everything. This is what the final product looks like. And I want to say this is just phase 1 because we're constantly getting feedback from students, and they've already given us 3 or 4, right, Maloney, different product feature ideas. And so this is what it looks like. And I can kind of go through, I won't go through too much, but let's say this is Eileen, Vet Tech. You see how we connect it with the programs at Foothill, and then the pathway mapper. This one actually is just a certificate. We're probably going to include the actual 2-year program. We have a lot of different videos of different questions. The first one we put was, how did Foothill actually prepare you for it? And I'll just kind of go through some of the profiles. One thing that's specific to Gladio profiles is this is not Bureau of Labor Statistics data. This is actually data that we got from informational interviews. Because I remember when I was trying to pursue a career in Hollywood 15, 18 years ago, I first of all, there weren't that many careers out there on the BLS side or the ONET side on entertainment, but they didn't actually give actionable data. It was just like, what is a development exec at a studio? Actually, that career wasn't even represented. A sound engineer, but it didn't tell people how to actually pursue that. So what we do is we interview 1 to 2 working professionals currently, the people that actually work now, not 40 years ago, not 20 years ago, but now. And then we put that into a very, very user-friendly career profile. And I think the number one thing that people wanted to see was this. Like, so many careers have different titles. And a lot of the students were like, okay, I want a career in IT, but when I go onto Handshake or when I go onto whatever job posting, I actually don't know what the name of it is. Well, look, this is one of the most complex. To be eventually a CIO, you actually have to start off in desktop support or application support. And look at all these titles, they're all different, right? So that's one thing that we do for every single career profile, is to create that kind of roadmap. And as you can see here, Deloitte has an amazing virtual experience program. You go through the whole program and then you get into the recruiting pool. So that was really exciting to me, to be able to partner with these different organizations that really care about increasing diversity and representation in a lot of these industries. Next. Maloney, is this the next slide? Does it show? Because I know there's a lag.
I'm seeing foothill.gladio.org on the screen.
Okay. Let me know when it says what's next.
Okay, got it. What's next is up.
Okay.
So
to you.
Yeah, we have so many plans to fill this out further. We are working on finding a way to have a mentor system through Gladio. And that'll be really awesome because Gladio already has so many cool connections out in the world from all the work they've been doing for years. And it would be amazing if our students could actually connect to the mentors in the Gladio pool. And we're not just having a regular mentorship program. Our dream is to actually have micro mentoring. And what micro mentoring is a defined amount of time and space for both the mentors to have deep impact and have the students at the same time know that this isn't something that they can stretch forever, so that they can actually be prepared ahead of time to correctly use the time that they have with their mentor to try to make the most out of it. Sometimes mentoring programs go on for years, or they just don't have clearly defined goals, and so people don't know how to interact with each other, and then the mentors feel like it's a waste of their time and the students know what they're doing. So with the micro mentoring, because it's such a limited opportunity, both our students are going to be prepared on how to go about approaching the relationship, and our mentors will have a defined amount of time that they're volunteering for this, so that they know that what they're spending their time on is actually going to be worthwhile. Another thing that we actually had students help out with is explore the idea of gamification. So we didn't mention this, but we do this thing at Foothill College called Springturnship, which is a micro internship that we provide for our students by building relationships with community partners. And Gladio was kind enough to actually be one of our Springturnship employers for our students, and our students helped develop the idea of gamification and what would be needed to use AI to kind of push students towards specific careers, and also make sure that they're getting motivated to finish what they need to do in terms of their classes so that they can finish their degrees, as well as the milestones they should hit in order to get to the career that they want. That kind of ties into the next thing that we're also working on is not all majors have defined careers. So if you're in a lot of the workforce majors, you go in knowing what you're going to be when you come out of our programs. But let's say you're an English major, you don't know what you could be necessarily. Very few people who are English majors are going to write a book. Most people think, oh, you can write a book if you're an English major, but there's so many other things you can also do. And so we're trying to work together to find a way to properly map the extensive array of opportunities for people with wide liberal arts degrees, or degrees that you don't have to necessarily come out with the specific title that you went into, such as the example of Eileen. Like if you go in for vet tech, you're going to come out as a vet technician, right? But if you go in for English, you don't really know what kind of job you're going to land. So how do we help harness all of your internal skills that you have through things like the Gladio quiz, but also just making sure you see the full kind of menu of career opportunities that are out there for you. And another thing that we were discussing is the idea of a community college advisory board, because whilst it has been amazing to be able to pilot this with Michelle, I know that there are many other folks who have excellent ideas on how we can make this even better. So we would love to have a community college advisory board in the future.
I just wanted to, so those three I guess, pain points were identified by Maloney and her team when she was talking to the students. And she's actually brought in other departments in Foothill to get the feedback from the students. So my job was to basically just really flesh out what the pain points were. So we did stakeholder surveys and stakeholder interviews to figure out, okay, what part of connecting to a mentor is difficult? And so we didn't just interview students, but we also interviewed the mentors, because without mentors, you can't have a mentor program, right? And we identified some pain points they had. One, when Maloney said, it's too long. I mean, I can't commit to 2 minimum years. A lot of the times you have to commit to 2 years. That's mostly for K through 12, but that's kind of the traditional mentorship program like Big Brother, Big Sister, or something like that. And number two, they wanted it to be easy to schedule, and we wanted it to be virtual, because as you know, if you have in person, I mean, now everybody's used to virtual and Zoom, but before they were just like, it's really difficult to drive if you're like in the Bay Area and one's on the East Bay and the other one's on the South Bay. And the scheduling was just so difficult. Number three, it's like a matching system. I want to be mentored to somebody. If you're in the college level, you probably want to be mentored to somebody who's working in the industry that you desire to enter into, right? You don't just want another, I don't know, if you're an English major, you want something in computer engineering. Also, a matching system requires a lot of females probably want to learn from a female mentor. That could be gender related, race related, sexual orientation, whatever. I think everybody wants that relatable woman, and there's so many different parameters of relatability, right? So that's something that we are design thinking. How can we address all of those pain points that the interviewees, all of these stakeholders have told us? And so we're starting to design what that would look like as a micro mentoring platform and how to connect it with the Gladio platform. The gamification, like Maloney says, spring internship was awesome. I had no idea that the Foothill College students were that. I mean, I knew they were tech savvy, right? Because they're young, but they're so creative and they had so many ideas, and they did research, psychological research on what things need to be done. They researched TikTok and Lumosity and all these other, Duolingo and all these other apps that, are very addictive, but like e-learning. Duolingo teaches you how to learn different languages. And so it's really pulling from things that have already been very effective in different other apps. And then they come up with a list of ideas, and then we can talk about features and feasibility and how that can be implemented. And so that's something that we're developing right now. Maloney was talking about the major to the career option. I never thought about that, because we're so career related, but you're right. If you go in with a history major, an English major, what are those career options? And so we have to design think, what is the best user interface to be able to implement that? On our platform, it shouldn't be that hard because we're already matching the careers with the major. So it's really just a design. And then Community College Advisory Board. I think, Maloney, you're part of the Handshake Community College Advisory Board. She was talking about how that was very, very beneficial to Handshake. And they had all these ideas. Can you implement this? Can you implement that? And so I thought, yes, we should do that for Gladio as well. And so next, if you are interested, we're probably going to create the advisory board early 2022, but we always want your feedback. As you can tell, we're constantly iterating, because if we're not creating a platform that actually helps you guys and the students, then what's the point, right? So if you guys are interested in giving feedback to any new feature or features that are currently on the platform that should be, a little bit more, designed a little better or anything like that, please go to gladio.org/collaborate, sign up, and I would love to be able to, keep in touch with y'all. And then when we do come up with the advisory board, Maloney's going to help shape that because she's already part of an advisory board. What's the most ideal number? How many times should we meet? I mean, she knows that you guys are super busy, so we don't want it to be such a heavy lift. It's going to be easy and very, very, we're going to make it fun. So anything else you want to say, Maloney?
Nothing in particular, although we did fail to let people know how to connect with us individually. So I'm just going to drop that information into the chat as we move into Q&A time. But you're all welcome to connect with us on LinkedIn or directly via email, and we'll just leave that into the chat. So do you guys have any questions? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now for the sake of the questions. But we'll still stick on for anyone who wanted to ask anything in particular.